Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here for another episode of Come As You Are. My name is Alyssa Stamp. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ensure Equality, and I am so delighted to be with my guest today. It's Antonio Javar. He is an author, he's a meditation influencer, and he is the executive director of a nonprofit as well. Antonio, thank you so much for being here to talk to me today about the end of the year.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure um, to speak to you and the work that you do, and just continuing to build. Um, yes.
Yeah, that's the right word, I think. You and I were talking right before we hit record, and we're coming up to that time of the year where it's so stressful without us needing to try to make it stressful, right? Like we've got the end of the year closing out for work, we've got family obligations, we've got holiday obligations, and we're being pulled in 1,000 different directions. And you even had a story from today. How do we remind ourselves and recenter? Your book is called The Center. How do we recenter in those moments, in those chaotic moments? That's the question, isn't it?
I, you know, I'm recentering at this very moment. And so the main thing I want to say that I feel very led in my spirit and my heart to say is that being in your center is not always jumping off the wall, bouncing off the wall, super excited, you know, like I'm excited to be talking with you right now, but I had a day today. So I'm not excited, but I still have peace. I still have this ability to reflect, right? And I would say the first thing to do in this time of year, right? I had a death last week. I lost a friend of mine, suddenly healthy young guy, maybe 40 years old. Not only impacted my life, but impacted everyone that he came into contact with. Literally was like an angel on earth, right? So there are people that are going to be dealing with grief. There are people that are going to be dealing with family issues, feeling like not enough, economic situations. But, all these things are, even today, right? It's all an opportunity, right? Today I was talking to you a little bit before we got on about how I went to go run an errand this morning at 9:30, thinking, I'll be back by 11, 12, 12 the latest, gonna come back, do my meetings. Got home it was even after 3. It was probably like 3:30. I was just, like, kumbaya. But it was such a beautiful moment too, because those are the moments where you do the most growing, right? Those are the moments where you can say, gotcha, right? Because usually in those moments, that's the moment you want to go and do or say or be in places that may not be the healthiest for you, right? When you've had a
Wow.
stressful day, you might want to go pop that Coca-Cola open instead of drinking that water or that tea that you had already planned. You may want to now go home and take your anger out on your children or your husband or your spouse, right? You may want to just say, to heck with what I had planned to get done, because now I had a tough day, right? But in the awareness, that first step that I want to talk about is awareness of what's happening within you as you become aware of what's happening outside of you. In those moments, you got to be tougher than the tough situation, right? You got to be tougher than what is trying to pull you down, right? And so when I got home at 3:30, I was just kind of like, there's no way. I still got this to do this. And there was a moment, and then I was hearing myself within myself. I was hearing the parts of me that wanted to go do everything else but what I had committed myself to doing,
Wow.
right?
There's so much there, and it's so incredibly powerful because you're talking about a resilience too. There's the growth element of being able to recognize that there's a painful moment that you can transcend and you can learn from and choose to go the direction that you need to go. But there's also that resilience there, because I think you and I have had several conversations about your journey to get to where you are now, and meditation and how you found it and how that's helped you, and the science of that even. And what I think you've really been able to cultivate for yourself that I've been able to see in action is that resilience and that breath work and coming back to center again. I'm going to use that again because I think that's just a powerful image. How has meditation helped shape that for you? Because I know, like, it's obviously a feature of the organization that you run, it's a feature of everything that you do. Like, talk more about meditation and how that's helped you.
I want to, I'm going to say this. I'm going to take the word meditation out for anyone that's
Ooh,
listening to
okay.
this that may mystify them. I want to talk about breath, because our breath is our power. Our breath is our power. Our breath is our life source. Our breath pulls us into our center and pushes everything else out, right? I had a call with my grandmother yesterday in the morning. She's a diabetic, and she, her sugar was like 450, which is really high, right? She was in the hospital last week where her sugar was like 600. So I call her, and her sugar's 450, and it's so interesting because you would think that maybe I would have been did this with my grandmother, but I hadn't. And this was the first time that I felt like I brought me to the table. Like what I do for others, I brought it home. I brought it to her. And I began to, she had told me she had some French fries. Yeah. She had a fish sandwich from Mickey D's. Not gonna get you where you want to get. So I gave her a mini lecture first about how, oh, that's why you look what you ate. Nothing's wrong with you. It's with what you ate. So you do that, you're gonna get this. And so I began to talk to her. I was like, you need to take some deep breaths. I began to immediately, I had this overwhelming feeling to talk to her about breath. And she was like, deep breaths? That does something? She literally she literally said that to me. I was like, yes. And I began to coach her through the variations of, what I call 4-7-8. Inhale to the count of 4, hold to the count of 7, exhale to the count of 8, varying depending on who you are or not. So she tried to do it, and she was like, "Ooh, it hurts." I was like, "Good, it hurt. That means you're not doing it enough. That means that your body is not fully getting a life source that you need to be calm and whatnot." So I was like, "I'm gonna do it." I did it a few times with her on the phone. Let's go, just do it a few times. Come on, and do me 2, 3, 4. And I said to her, I said, your sugar is going to go down. When you take your sugar in the hour, it's going to go down. Not only I didn't say it to her from a place of hope. I said it to her from a place of knowing. There was something in me that was very much sure. I would call it the God force, the source that knew in this moment, this is teacher. She needs this right now. So I called her in an hour, and I said, okay, have you check your blood sugar? And she was like, oh, she's like, I haven't checked it just yet. I said, well, check it while I'm on the phone, And her sugar went from 450 to 138
Wow.
in an hour.
Wow.
And she was like, she before she told me it was 138, she did exactly what you did. She said, wow. She was like, oh my God. She's like, it's 138. She was like, oh, but she was like, wow, can't believe it. I feel so just relieved. I was like, see, I was like, I want you to do this at night. I want you to do this in the morning. Now the key is getting her to stick with it, but she got to see for herself. When I checked in with her early this morning, it was 150. So our breath centers us. It brings us to stop, a pause, because our body goes into a state of shock or fear. Our amygdala, our emotional brain can take over just like that before you even have a chance to realize it. And once that amygdala, your emotional brain, takes over, and you have these automated responses within you to triggers and etc., it can be hard to get back. But our breath, remembering to breathe deeply throughout the day, tells your body, hey, we're okay. This is going to be all right. We can be right. So yeah, that's one of the ways, absolutely, that awareness.
Man, that's a life lesson, a parable, like all some self-help all wrapped in one. And I love that you reframed meditation to breath, because you're right. I think there's this mystifying quality to the word meditation. Like, you have to be in, baggy pants on a yoga mat overlooking a beautiful vista outside in order to do it correctly. And I remember when you and I first started talking, you said, look, I breathe in the morning for 10 minutes, and then I do it at night for 10 minutes, because then I know that if I can't make the evening, then I've at least done it in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Are there and breathing is so simple, right? Like, that's something that, like, taking that pause and doing that deep breath, that's something that we can all incorporate without very much effort or energy or like mental process. What other tools or tips do you use, like on a day like today, where you had a 1 hour errand that took you 6 hours? What else do you do to like bring yourself back and remind yourself? You've mentioned a couple of things, but I'm curious, like, what was your thought process while you were going through the day?
My thought process while I was going through the day was, I can't believe this is happening.
That's fair.
there, were,
I'd
there,
probably
were,
be there too.
there were moments of like, right, oh my goodness, really? Oh no, this, And the beautiful thing about it is that I was aware as it was happening, right? And then the bus runs late, and then so everything is like, whoa, next, and then you just you get to I came. What happened was I had an interaction with a person that shifted my whole energy.
Mm. Can we hear about it?
So toward the end of me running errands, there was just this lady that I entertained. This is, mind you, this is probably around like 2:30 as I'm finally getting ready to go home.
Yeah.
Her spirit and her energy was so in her own, right? She was not moved by how I was feeling. I was telling her, I was talking to her, I was like, oh, this morning, this happened. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Thank you so much. But she was very much in her, it was almost like in positive psychology, we have these 24 character strengths that have been scientifically studied based off of different religions and spirituality and philosophies from hundreds of years study and research. And I almost feel like she just had this like strength of just compassion and kind of listening for a second. And she was just so like, she almost set it off back in me,
Yeah.
which is, speaks to having people around you, you know, that are very much able to stand in their own power and love and peace, right? Because you're not going to always be super excited, super happy, super, So
Yeah.
that one stranger, her doing that, and I gave her so. I brought at first when I was interacting with her, I was not present. I was very much just like, not being nasty to her in any way, but just very much like just caught up in what I'm kind of feeling throughout the day. And by the end of those few moments of being with this stranger as I'm heading home, I stopped and I gave her so much appreciation. I looked her in the eyes. I said, I just want to say thank you, because you have almost shifted my entire day around. Like,
Wow.
your interaction, this interaction with you. So we have so much power when it comes to that, right? The people you talk to, the people you're dealing with. I would really say, do I want to say the word support system? I don't know if it's a support system, but a life system.
Yeah.
People that are full of life and can some people zap your energy out of you. Have
Yep.
people that can zap it right back into you. People that, because literally that is what happened. And then I was like, okay, now I can put it I'm able to put everything into perspective. Now, in my entire day, all those things that were just seeming to not be going the way I wanted to, there was lessons even inside of that. The momentum of just constantly just going in one direction. And I kind of let myself I was aware of what was happening throughout the day. I kind of let myself just kind of go with it a little, right? Sometimes we get in these states where we just like, okay, no, I just need to be positive. Let me just, no, sometimes it's okay to, in awareness, feel what you're feeling, notice what you're noticing, and kind of see where you can make changes or why this may be bothering you, and not overthinking it. Because you always get back to your center. You you may get out of your center, but your center is never out of you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's a message of hope, my friend. Like
Yes.
what you just said. Oh my goodness, there's so many things there and I want to talk about all of them. It's the impact that we have on other people even as we go about our day, right?
Mm.
It's the energy of how we present ourselves. Like I love how you talked about like not being present at first, but then being fully aware, and just the moment that she sat and listened to you. I think that's another powerful part of this story, is the storytelling aspect, just having somebody sit, listen to you. It sounds like she didn't give you advice or anything. She just sat and heard you. And that's really all you needed in that moment to keep
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
Um, and then the message of hope that your center is never gone. I think there's an element as we approach the end of the year, as we start to worry and ruminate on all of the things that happen. Like you mentioned, a friend passed, and I'm so sorry to hear that. You mentioned the family issues and the health issues and the economic issues, especially this time in America, and everything that we've been through over the course of the past few years. All of these things are swirling around us at all times. And to know that we'll never necessarily be disjointed from ourselves, that's a message of hope. So it sounds like I'm hearing pause, I'm hearing breathe, I'm hearing be aware of yourself. And it's not a toxic positivity, is what it sounds like either. It's releasing the need to control,
Mhm.
right? Because not everything in our day is going to go our way. Like your day was complete evidence of that. And we did not plan this
Oh, we
at
did not.
all. But we can't control the day. We have very little control, but I love how you said just being aware of what's happening, feeling the feelings that are present for you and
Mhm.
letting it kind of flow through. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, like, if it's if you kind of have a momentum already going, it's going, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to go from really, 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 really frustrated to like, oh my God, I'm just so happy, right? It's going to be incremental, right? And even after that interaction, as I almost got home, it's just like, it's really 3:30. I was like, it's really 3:30. And, you know, I got in the house and I in a way, I began to jump into massive action, right? I began to, you know, this is what I got to do. Boom, check, check, check. And to be honest with you, even with the day I've had, just about everything is checked off, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 things, right? And I'm not beating myself up for not or anything. Some things I had to say, oh, you know what? I'm not going to do it for an hour. I'm going to do it for 30 minutes, right? Talking, self-talk,
Mm,
talk. You did the best you could today. You couldn't control any of those situations, but look at you. Look at you. Look at what you were still able to do. Even if you decide to do nothing, you know what? It's okay. Give yourself grace. You had a hard day. Sometimes we need to tell ourselves the things that we want to tell our friends. Another thing I want to say is that she brought love to that moment, and I came and met her there with love. I literally paused and looked her in the eyes. She was like, "Oh, thank you, oh, oh," you know. But I became very present, and I brought love to that present moment. You know, so finding something that you can be mindful and care for, right? During these rough times, during these. Let me rephrase that. During these times,
mm,
it can be rough, or they can be lessons. There's so much to notice.
yeah.
There's so much to notice. There's I had a friend that passed away, but I also know that he is in peace and he's transitioned to the ancestors now. You know, so notice what you notice, and give notice to things that are going um, to shift you a little bit more to that peace element. Um, I also say this: move if you can. Move your body. I told you that as soon as we get off this call, I'm running to go and get I'm not going to do a full workout, but just running a little bit, maybe some abs, just being in that energy of other people briefly and getting present.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I think your day happened to be the perfect and most beautiful representation of the conversation that we needed to have. And I think, like I said, we didn't plan this, we couldn't have. And yet it was a gorgeous way to explain who you are, what you bring, how you do it, and ways that we can all cope during these times. I love that you rephrase that. And even after you said it, and I love the moment of recognizing the need to pause and to redirect. And it's okay to do that. And it's okay to give yourself that permission. And it's okay to give yourself that patience. You're so right. I think in our society, we have this notion that we have to run to get everything done. We have these giant lists. We all have to accomplish them. There's an instant gratification. And it's okay that it all doesn't get done
It's
because it
okay.
will get done when it has to, right?
It- and think about the why.
Yes.
The why of forget it. Sometimes it can be we get so caught up and I need to check this off and check this off and I need to get this and check this off. The why, the why, giving yourself that space to breathe and that space to be in whatever you're doing. The the basis, I will say so many things coming to me, but I want to say this, and this is for anyone listening, anyone watching. The basis of our lives is well-being. I know that there is issues. I know that there are problems. I know that there's so much going on in the world, but there's so much abundance and love in the universe. There's so much love and abundance in the universe. And I felt so privileged to entertain that angel today. I felt so privileged to entertain her. And if you could just remember that well-being is your birthright. Well-being is my birthright. There's no situation or circumstance that we cannot use to empower us, that we cannot use to reveal the well-being that is our birthright. Not to overcome, right? Because if we say we need to overcome all these things, like you were saying right before we jump on,
Yeah.
we in essence put these roadblocks out in front of us. We throw them out in front of us and say, "Oh, there's a roadblock." It's like you just went and put that out there. Like you literally just went and threw that in front of the road. You haven't even got there yet. You know, but well-being is the order, and sometimes releasing that control Like I was, listen, as much as I was going through the day, I was just like, I knew really what it was. The universe was like, you don't have no control in this. But what we can always work on and be aware of is what's happening within us. Just keeping that awareness. That awareness creates just enough space for opportunity for something to happen, to shift, a realization, a new moment, a new thing. Just that. And breathing helps that. Those pauses, those breathing, those stopping and asking, what do I need right now? What do I need in this moment? What do I need? I'm telling a lot of people no. That's another thing. Make no a part of your vocabulary. There are so many people that want to meet and do different things. I had someone that wanted to meet with me next week. I was like, I'm not available till the 3rd week in January.
Wow. That's the message too, right? Boundaries. Oh my goodness.
Boundary.
We could have a whole, we'll have to have you back and we'll do a whole nother
I would
session
love
on
to.
boundaries.
I would love to.
Let's do it. But we are coming up at time, and I want to make sure that people know how to find you, because what you've done for us today is talk about so many pieces, but that last piece that you talked about, the message of well-being, the message of hope, that's what we want to relay. So if you want to get in touch with Antonio Javar and learn more about his work, buy his book, work with him or his organization, Antonio, how do they do that?
You can go to my website, AntonioJavar.com. That's AntonioJavar.com. And there you can check out my books. If you're also interested in doing meditation or mindfulness coaching or any type of breath work, you can also find me there. And if you are on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, you can find me at Antonio Javar. And I post videos pretty much daily, 15-second clips, 30-second clips, that are all about empowering, tapping into internal inspiration, breaking through mental limitations, mindfulness, and so many more things. So I would love to, if you're led to reach out to me, reach out. There's a reason you may feel led to. There's a reason you may feel guided to do that. So
yes, and you can also find Antonio on our website. We have him listed as a partner, so you can find him there. And I will say, Antonio gave a lovely meditation practice to our board as one of our final meetings, and so many people got so much out of that. In fact, our CTO who was there said she subscribed to your channel and she watches your videos every day. So you've already made such an impact on our lives here at IE, and I know that you're going to be able to do that with the people in our community too. So thank you so much for your time today. I love how much you shared. Thank you for being present with me today. I always learn something from you. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much. You too.
Be well.